What if the next quarter in your pocket isn't just 25 cents, but a forgotten piece of American history that collectors have searched for over decades? Today, we're uncovering the hidden stories behind the legendary 1965, 1966, and 1991 Washington quarters. We'll reveal why some ordinary-looking quarters attract serious collector attention, the rare mint eras experts search for, the truth behind the famous silver transition mystery, and the tiny details that most people overlook before spending their coins. Before you use another quarter, watch this video until the very end, because the smallest detail could completely change the way you look at your pocket change forever. Welcome to RE Coins News, where every coin has a story, and every story begins with a closer look. Step 1. Before you spend another quarter, stop for just a moment and look closely at the date. Imagine discovering that a coin resting quietly in your pocket has traveled through 60 years of American history, surviving thousands of transactions while carrying a story that most people have never heard. The 1965 Washington quarter is one of the most talked about coins among collectors because it marked a turning point in United States coinage. Although the vast majority of 1965 quarters are ordinary circulation coins, a very small number of authenticated transition-era examples and other unusual varieties have become highly sought after by collectors. Their importance comes from rarity, history, and careful verification, not simply from the date alone. Today, we begin the remarkable journey of a coin that symbolizes one of the biggest changes ever made by the United States Mint. The year 1965 arrived during a period of enormous change. Rising silver prices encouraged many people to remove silver coins from circulation, creating a nationwide coin shortage. To solve the problem, the United States Mint introduced a new copper-nickel clad composition for the quarter, replacing the long-used 90% silver alloy. This decision changed American coinage forever. For the first time in generations, millions of people unknowingly began receiving quarters made from a completely different metal composition. Most accepted the change without much thought, but decades later collectors would look back at 1965 as one of the most historically significant years in modern U.S. coin history. The familiar portrait of George Washington remained unchanged on the front of the coin. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the image had first appeared in 1932 to commemorate the bicentennial of Washington's birth. Around the portrait were the inscriptions "Liberty," "In God We Trust," and "United States of America," while the reverse displayed the majestic eagle with outstretched wings, surrounded by olive branches and arrows. That classic eagle reverse remained one of the most recognizable designs in American coinage until the introduction of the state quarters program decades later. Even today, the design represents a period many collectors consider the golden age of the Washington quarter. One interesting detail about 1965 quarters often surprises new collectors. Unlike many earlier and later coins, standard circulation quarters from 1965 normally carry no mint mark. During the mid-1960s, the Mint temporarily removed mint marks from circulating coins in an effort to discourage collectors from hoarding newly released issues. Because of this decision, a missing mint mark on a genuine 1965 quarter is entirely normal and should not be mistaken for an error. Understanding this historical decision helps collectors avoid one of the most common misconceptions surrounding these coins. Among the most fascinating stories connected with 1965 quarters are the extremely rare transition-era coins believed to have been struck on leftover 90% silver planchets intended for 1964 production. These authenticated errors are exceptionally scarce and have attracted significant attention within the numismatic community because they represent a brief moment during the transition from silver to clad coinage. Their desirability comes from documented rarity and expert authentication rather than rumor. Most 1965 quarters found in circulation are clad, making genuine silver transition examples an extraordinary exception rather than the rule. The real mystery surrounding the 1965 Washington quarter begins inside the mint itself. During the transition from 90% silver to the new copper-nickel-clad composition, production lines were operating at an enormous pace to meet nationwide demand. Every blank planchet was expected to match the new specifications, yet collectors have long been fascinated by the possibility that a very small number of leftover silver planchets from 1964 may have remained in the production system. If one of those silver blanks was accidentally struck with 1965 dies, it would create a genuine transition error, one of the most desirable modern US coin varieties. These coins are extremely rare and must be authenticated before they can be considered valuable. At first glance, a normal 1965 quarter and a genuine silver transition quarter look almost identical. That is why experienced collectors never rely on appearance alone. Instead, they examine the edge of the coin, compare its weight, study its color under proper lighting, and often submit it to professional grading services for authentication. A standard clad quarter reveals a visible copper-colored layer along the edge, while a genuine silver example has a solid silver-colored edge with no copper stripe. Even then, testing by experts is essential because lighting, wear, or environmental effects can sometimes create misleading impressions. Another reason collectors admire the 1965 quarter is that it represents the end of one era and the beginning of another. For generations, Americans had carried silver coins in their pockets without giving much thought to the precious metal inside them. After 1965, that familiar silver composition disappeared from regular circulation quarters. Although the new clad coins looked similar, they marked a historic change in American money. Every 1965 quarter serves as a reminder of that important transition, making the year memorable even for collectors who own only ordinary examples. The eagle displayed on the reverse carries its own powerful symbolism. With wings spread confidently across the design, the eagle represents strength, independence, and national unity. Beneath it appear olive branches symbolizing peace, while the arrows held by the eagle represent readiness to defend the nation. Around the design are the inscriptions United States of America, E pluribus unum, and $quarter. These familiar words have appeared on countless American coins, reminding generations of the nation's ideals every time they handled their pocket change. Many exciting stories begin when someone discovers an old coin collection tucked away in a family home. A forgotten box inside an attic, a small envelope hidden inside a desk drawer, or a collection carefully assembled decades ago can introduce new generations to the fascinating world of numismatics. Even when the coins themselves are not exceptionally valuable, they often preserve family history alongside American history. Collectors understand that every coin carries two stories: the official story of its creation and the personal story of the people who owned it over the years. One of the greatest lessons learned by experienced collectors is the importance of evidence. Exciting claims often circulate suggesting that ordinary coins are worth millions simply because they are old or look unusual. Genuine numismatic value, however, depends on careful examination, documented rarity, condition, collector demand, and professional authentication. This careful approach protects both buyers and sellers while preserving confidence within the collecting community. It is this combination of history, craftsmanship, rarity, and verified authenticity that transforms certain coins into legendary collectibles while leaving the vast majority as fascinating pieces of everyday history. There is a special excitement that every serious coin collector understands. It is the feeling that arrives when an ordinary-looking quarter is lifted into the light for a closer inspection. What appears to be nothing more than pocket change may suddenly reveal sharp original luster, an unusual strike, or characteristics that deserve further investigation. Although the overwhelming majority of 1965 Washington quarters are standard clad coins worth face value, every careful examination teaches collectors more about minting, history, and the remarkable journey each coin has taken since the day it left the press. One of the most important skills in numismatics is learning to separate fact from rumor. Videos and social media posts often claim that every old quarter is worth a fortune, but experienced collectors know that true rarity is uncommon. Coins that achieve exceptional auction prices almost always combine several qualities at once: verified authenticity, outstanding condition, historical significance, and genuine scarcity. Without those factors, an ordinary circulation coin remains exactly that, an interesting piece of history rather than a life-changing discovery. Professional grading plays a major role in establishing collectible value. Experts examine the coin under magnification, studying every tiny detail, from the sharpness of Washington's hair to the condition of the eagle's feathers on the reverse. They evaluate surface preservation, original mint luster, strike quality, and any signs of damage or cleaning. After careful inspection, the coin receives a standardized grade that helps collectors around the world compare examples with confidence. Two coins from the same year can differ dramatically in value simply because one has been preserved far better than the other. Another common mistake is cleaning old coins in the hope of making them more valuable. While a polished coin may appear brighter, cleaning often removes the original surface that collectors prize. Fine scratches left by cloths, brushes, or chemical cleaners become visible under magnification and can permanently reduce collectible appeal. For this reason, many experienced collectors recommend leaving old coins exactly as they are until they have been properly evaluated. Originality is frequently more desirable than artificial shine. The legacy of the Washington Quarter extends far beyond its monetary value. It has accompanied generations of Americans through everyday life, from vending machines and grocery stores to family vacations and coin albums. Every scratch and every worn edge reflects years of circulation and countless exchanges between people. Even a common quarter represents a small piece of the nation's history, connecting modern collectors with the era in which it was produced. That historical connection is one of the reasons coin collecting continues to inspire curiosity across generations. As our journey continues, one truth becomes increasingly clear. The greatest treasures in numismatics are not created by exaggerated stories, but by authentic history, careful preservation, and a genuine understanding of what makes a coin unique. Whether a 1965 quarter remains worth only 25 cents or turns out to be a verified rarity, its story is still worth discovering. Every coin invites us to look beyond its face value and appreciate the craftsmanship, historical events, and human stories preserved within a small piece of American metal. In the final chapter, we will bring together everything we have learned, explore how collectors protect important finds, and conclude with the enduring legacy of the 1965 Washington Quarter. Every legendary coin begins its story as ordinary money. The 1965 Washington Quarter was never created with the intention of becoming a collector's prize. It was designed to solve a national coin shortage and to serve millions of Americans in everyday commerce. Yet history has a remarkable way of transforming ordinary objects into historical artifacts. Decades later, this single year continues to attract attention because it marks the moment when the United States permanently changed the composition of one of its most familiar coins. That historical importance alone guarantees that the 1965 quarter will always occupy a special place in American numismatics. Many collectors dream of discovering a rare coin in an old family collection, a forgotten coin jar, or a bankroll that has remained unopened for years. While such discoveries are uncommon, they do happen from time to time. The excitement lies not in assuming every coin is valuable, but in carefully examining each one with patience and knowledge. Looking at the edge, checking the weight, studying the details under magnification, and comparing the coin with verified examples are habits that experienced collectors develop over many years. Their success comes from observation rather than luck alone. Among the most respected qualities in coin collecting is originality. A coin that has survived for decades without being cleaned, polished, or altered often tells its history through natural tunning and honest wear. Those characteristics allow experts to better understand how the coin has aged and whether it remains in authentic condition. Collectors appreciate originality because it preserves the story of the coin exactly as time created it. Every mark becomes part of its journey, making each surviving example unique in its own way. Although the 1965 Washington quarter is famous for the transition from silver to clad coinage, it also represents something much larger. Reminds us that even the smallest objects in our daily lives are connected to economic decisions, technological advances, artistic achievement, and national history. Every quarter carries the portrait of George Washington, the enduring symbolism of the eagle, and inscriptions that have accompanied generations of Americans. Those design elements link the present with the past, allowing a simple coin to become a lasting historical record that continues traveling from one person to another. Perhaps the greatest lesson offered by this remarkable coin is that true value cannot be judged by appearance alone. An ordinary-looking quarter may simply be worth 25 cents, while an authenticated rarity with exceptional preservation or a genuine transition error may attract tremendous collector interest. The difference is never based on rumor or exaggerated headlines. It is based on careful study, documented authenticity, and a deep appreciation for history. That is what makes coin collecting so rewarding. Every coin invites us to slow down, look closer, ask questions, and discover the stories hidden within the metal. Whether you are a beginner or an experienced collector, the next coin you examine could teach you something new about America's past, reminding us that history often survives in the smallest and most unexpected places. Step 2. Picture yourself standing in line at a small neighborhood store. The cashier drops a few coins into your hand, and without thinking you slip them into your pocket. Hours later, while emptying your change onto a table, one quarter catches your eye. The date reads 1966. At first, it looks ordinary, just another Washington quarter that has spent decades moving from one owner to another. But that simple date opens the door to one of the most interesting chapters in American coin history. Although most 1966 quarters are common circulation coins, the year itself represents a remarkable transition in United States coinage, making it a favorite subject among collectors who enjoy uncovering the stories hidden inside everyday money. By 1966, America was still adjusting to one of the biggest changes ever made to its circulating coins. Just a short time earlier, the United States Mint had ended the long tradition of producing quarters from 90% silver for everyday circulation. Rising silver prices and a nationwide coin shortage forced the government to adopt a new copper-nickel clad composition. The change was practical, but it also marked the end of an era. Millions of people continued spending quarters every day, often without realizing that the metal inside those coins had changed forever. Today, that moment in history gives the 1966 quarter lasting significance far beyond its face value. The familiar portrait of George Washington remained unchanged, preserving the classic design created by sculptor John Flanagan. Around Washington's profile appear the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust," while the date below marks the year of issue. On the reverse, the powerful eagle spreads its wings above two olive branches, surrounded by the inscriptions United States of America, E Pluribus Unum, and $quarter. This elegant design served the nation for decades and became one of the most recognizable images ever placed on American currency. Its simplicity, balance, and symbolism continue to attract collectors around the world. One detail surprises many new collectors. Unlike many earlier and later quarters, standard 1966 Washington quarters do not carry a mint mark. During the mid-1960s, the United States Mint temporarily removed mint marks from circulating coins in an effort to discourage hoarding by collectors. As a result, the absence of a mint mark on a genuine 1966 quarter is completely normal and should never be mistaken for a rare error. Understanding this historical decision helps collectors avoid one of the most common misunderstandings surrounding coins from this period. Although most 1966 quarters are ordinary clad coins, collectors remain interested in the possibility of genuine mint errors and unusual production varieties. Authentic examples such as significant off-center strikes, double strikes, or verified transition errors are exceptionally scarce and must be confirmed by professional grading services. These coins are valued because of documented rarity and careful authentication, not because every 1966 quarter is inherently rare. That distinction is what separates informed collecting from myths and speculation, making the search for unusual examples both challenging and rewarding. No one at the United States Mint in 1966 imagined that decades later people would examine these quarters under magnifying glasses, compare tiny design details, and discuss them in collector circles around the world. The coin was created for one purpose: to keep America's economy moving during a time of tremendous demand for circulating currency. Yet history often transforms ordinary objects into fascinating collectibles. Every surviving 1966 Washington quarter is now a small time capsule, carrying the memory of a year when American coinage entered a completely new chapter. One of the first things experienced collectors notice is the edge of the coin. A normal 1966 quarter displays a thin copper-colored layer between two outer nickel surfaces, revealing its clad construction. This visible copper stripe became one of the easiest ways to distinguish post-1964 quarters from the earlier 90% silver issues. However, collectors never judge a coin by appearance alone. They also consider weight, strike quality, originality, and professional authentication before reaching any conclusions about rarity. Careful examination always produces more reliable results than assumptions. The eagle on the reverse is far more than a decorative image. Throughout American history, the bald eagle has represented courage, strength, freedom, and national unity. Its wings stretch proudly across the coin, while olive branches below symbolize peace, achieved through wisdom rather than conflict. Above the eagle appears the Latin phrase, e pluribus unum, meaning out of many, one. Those words express the idea that individual states and diverse people together form a single nation. Every quarter quietly carries this message, reminding us that coins preserve national ideals alongside economic value. Collectors often become fascinated by production errors because they reveal rare moments when even highly controlled manufacturing processes produce something unexpected. Genuine off-center strikes, clipped planchets, die cracks, doubled designs, and other authenticated mint errors are carefully documented within the numismatic community. These unusual coins attract attention because they represent authentic manufacturing anomalies rather than damage that occurred after the coin entered circulation. The rarity of verified mint errors is exactly what makes them so interesting to specialists. Many families unknowingly preserve pieces of history inside old jars, desk drawers, inherited collections, or forgotten coin albums. While most 1966 quarters found in those places remain ordinary circulation coins, searching through them can still be rewarding. Every coin offers an opportunity to learn about American history, coin production, and the importance of careful observation. Whether a collector eventually discovers a scarce variety or simply gains greater appreciation for the hobby, the experience itself becomes part of the journey. In the next chapter, we will explore how collectors protect important discoveries, why professional grading matters so much, and how the legacy of the 1966 Washington quarter continues to inspire new generations of coin enthusiasts. A remarkable coin is rarely recognized the moment it is found. More often, its importance is uncovered through curiosity, patience, and careful study. Imagine someone sorting through an old coffee can filled with coins collected decades ago. Most pieces appear ordinary, but one 1966 Washington quarter stands out because of an unusual strike or an unexpected feature. That single moment of curiosity often marks the beginning of a collector's journey. Rather than rushing to conclusions, experienced numismatists slow down, compare details, and let the coin tell its own story. The year 1966 occupies a unique place in American coinage because it followed one of the most dramatic changes ever made by the United States Mint. The transition away from circulating silver was still fresh, and millions of newly minted clad quarters were entering commerce every day. Although the design remained familiar, the metal beneath the surface had changed forever. This shift was driven by economic necessity rather than artistic preference, yet it created a lasting dividing line in U.S. coin history. Collectors today often view the mid-1960s as the bridge between two important eras of American currency. When specialists evaluate a 1966 quarter, they pay close attention to its condition. Fine details such as Washington's hair, the sharpness of the lettering, the eagle's feathers, and the original mint luster all contribute to a coin's overall grade. A quarter that has remained untouched since leaving the mint can look dramatically different from one that spent decades in circulation. Even small differences in preservation may influence collector interest, showing that careful storage can be just as important as rarity itself. Every inscription on the coin carries meaning. The word liberty reflects one of the nation's founding ideals. "In God We Trust" has appeared on U.S. coins for generations as an official national motto. United States of America identifies the issuing country, while quarter dollar states the denomination. On the reverse, E pluribus unum reminds us that many states and many people together form one nation. These words transform the coin into more than currency. They make it a small historical document that reflects American identity and values. The lasting appeal of the 1966 Washington quarter is not built on exaggerated promises of overnight riches, but on its genuine historical importance. It represents a pivotal moment in American coinage, preserves one of the nation's most recognizable designs, and continues to inspire collectors to study, preserve, and appreciate the history carried in everyday money. Whether a collector finds an ordinary example or an authenticated rarity, every 1966 quarter offers a connection to a fascinating period in the story of the United States Mint and the evolution of American coins. As our journey through the 1966 Washington quarter comes to an end, one truth stands above everything else. The greatest treasures in coin collecting are discovered through knowledge, patience, and careful observation. Every year, millions of coins continue to move from one pocket to another, yet only a tiny number attract the attention of serious collectors because they possess something truly special. The 1966 quarter represents an unforgettable chapter in American history, marking the period when the United States completed its transition away from circulating silver quarters. That historical milestone alone makes the coin an important part of every collector's story. For those beginning their own search, the most valuable habit is learning before buying or selling. Examine every coin under good lighting, compare important details, avoid cleaning or polishing old pieces, and if a coin appears unusual, consider having it authenticated by a respected grading service. A genuine rarity is identified by evidence, not by internet rumors or sensational headlines. This careful approach protects collectors while preserving the integrity of the hobby for future generations. Perhaps the most fascinating part of coin collecting is that every discovery begins with curiosity. A quarter received in change, an old family collection, a forgotten coin jar, or a roll from the bank can all become opportunities to learn something new. Even when a coin is worth only its face value, it still carries history in its design, its metal, and the countless hands through which it has passed. That connection between ordinary life and extraordinary history is what continues to attract collectors across the world. The 1966 Washington quarter reminds us that value is not measured only in dollars. Its true significance lies in the story it tells, a story of economic change, technological progress, artistic craftsmanship, and the enduring legacy of George Washington on American coinage. Every inscription, every detail of the eagle, and every carefully engraved line reflects the work of artists and mint employees whose efforts created a coin that remains instantly recognizable decades later. Whether preserved inside a collection or discovered in everyday change, it continues to connect the present with an important chapter of the nation's past. As you finish watching this story, take one last look at the coins already in your home. You may not uncover an extraordinary rarity, but you might discover something just as rewarding, a deeper appreciation for the remarkable history hidden inside the smallest pieces of everyday life. Every coin has a journey, every design has a purpose, and every collector starts with a single question: what story is this coin waiting to tell? If this journey inspired you, keep exploring, keep learning, and remember that the greatest discoveries in numismatics are made by people who never stop looking closely. Step 3. Most people never imagine that a quarter received as change could carry a story stretching across generations. It slips quietly into a wallet, disappears into a pocket, or settles unnoticed inside a coin jar. Yet among the billions of Washington quarters produced by the United States Mint, every date represents a different chapter of American history. The 1991 P. Washington quarter may appear ordinary at first glance, but it reflects the craftsmanship, economic stability, and enduring traditions of the nation's coinage during the early 1990s. While the vast majority of these coins are worth only 25 cents, collectors continue studying them because unusual mint eras, exceptional condition, and certified examples can attract strong interest within the numismatic community. By 1991, the Washington quarter had already become one of the most familiar coins in America. Nearly 60 years had passed since its introduction in 1932, yet the classic portrait of George Washington remained instantly recognizable. Designed by sculptor John Flanagan, the obverse presents the nation's first president surrounded by the inscriptions "Liberty, in God we trust," and the year 1991. These familiar words remind every generation of the values and history preserved on even the smallest pieces of circulating currency. The design had become so iconic that millions of Americans handled it every day without realizing how much history it represented. The reverse of the 1991 quarter proudly displays the American eagle standing with wings spread wide above two olive branches. Around the eagle appear the inscriptions "United States of America, E Pluribus Unum," and $quarter. The eagle symbolizes strength, courage, and national unity, while the olive branches represent peace. The Latin phrase "E pluribus unum," meaning "out of many, one," reflects the idea that individual states together form one united nation. These symbols transformed an everyday coin into a lasting expression of American identity, making the Washington quarter one of the country's most meaningful circulating designs. One detail that distinguishes this coin is the small P mint mark, indicating that it was struck at the Philadelphia Mint. For decades, Philadelphia produced enormous numbers of circulating coins for the nation. A 1991 P quarter is not automatically rare simply because it bears this mint mark. Its collectible value depends on condition, originality, and whether it displays a genuine mint era confirmed by experts. Understanding this principle helps collectors separate documented numismatic facts from exaggerated stories often shared online. The true excitement lies in careful observation rather than assumptions. Although ordinary 1991 P quarters remain common, collectors sometimes search for authenticated mint errors such as off-center strikes, clipped planchets, dramatic die breaks, or other unusual production characteristics. These examples are uncommon because modern minting equipment is designed to detect manufacturing problems quickly. When authentic errors do escape into circulation, they become fascinating reminders that even advanced production systems can occasionally create something unexpected. It is these verified rarities, not ordinary circulation coins, that generate the greatest excitement among experienced collectors. As our story continues, we will explore how grading, preservation, and historical context influence the long-term appeal of the 1991 P. Washington quarter, while revealing why even a common coin can become a treasured piece of American history. Imagine opening a small wooden box that has remained untouched for decades. Inside are dozens of old American quarters collected by a parent or grandparent, each carrying a different date and a different journey through history. Among them rests a 1991 P. Washington quarter. To most people it looks completely ordinary, yet to a collector it represents another opportunity to study craftsmanship, preservation, and the possibility, however small, of discovering an unusual variety. That sense of curiosity is what has kept coin collecting alive for generations, turning everyday change into a lifelong search for history hidden in plain sight. The early 1990s were a period when the Washington quarter had become deeply woven into everyday American life. These coins traveled through restaurants, grocery stores, vending machines, gas stations, and banks, passing through countless hands every single day. Unlike commemorative issues produced for collectors, the 1991 P quarter was designed for circulation, meaning its primary purpose was to support everyday commerce. Yet every coin that survives today carries the marks of that journey, connecting modern collectors with millions of ordinary moments from more than 3 decades ago. One of the first things experienced collectors notice is a coin's condition. A heavily circulated quarter may show worn lettering, flattened details, and countless small scratches collected over years of use. By contrast, an uncirculated example stored carefully since the day it was struck often retains brilliant mint luster, crisp details, and sharp design elements. Because high-grade examples become increasingly difficult to find as time passes, professionally graded coins in exceptional condition may attract significantly more collector interest than worn examples of the same date. Preservation often plays a larger role than age alone. Many newcomers believe that dirt or dark toning automatically increases value, but experienced collectors know that originality is far more important than appearance. A naturally aged coin may develop attractive toning over time, while environmental damage, corrosion, or harsh cleaning usually reduces collector appeal. This is why specialists recommend leaving old coins untouched until they can be properly examined. A coin's original surface tells part of its story, and preserving that originality is one of the most important principles in numismatics. The lasting appeal of the 1991 P Washington quarter comes not from exaggerated stories of instant riches, but from its connection to American history, its enduring design, and the excitement of careful discovery. Every coin reminds us that history is often preserved in the smallest objects we use every day. Whether a collector finds an ordinary example or an authenticated mint era, the reward comes from understanding the journey behind the coin and appreciating the craftsmanship that transformed a simple piece of metal into a lasting symbol of the United States. Not every treasure announces itself with bright colors or dramatic appearance. Sometimes the greatest discoveries begin with a quiet moment when someone notices a tiny detail others have ignored for years. A 1991 P Washington quarter may seem identical to thousands of others. But experienced collectors understand that careful observation is the foundation of numismatics. They examine every letter, every number, every edge, and every design element because history has shown that genuine rarities often hide in plain sight. Knowledge, rather than luck, is what turns an ordinary search into a meaningful discovery. The Philadelphia Mint, represented by the small P mint mark, has played a central role in American coin production since the nation's earliest years. By 1991, advanced minting technology allowed millions of high-quality quarters to be produced efficiently. Even so, no manufacturing process is completely perfect. On rare occasions, production mistakes escaped quality control and entered circulation. These authentic mint errors are carefully documented and studied because they reveal unusual moments in the coin-making process. Their rarity, rather than the date alone, is what attracts serious collector interest. Professional authentication has become one of the most important safeguards in modern coin collecting. When a coin appears unusual, experts examine its weight, dimensions, strike quality, metal composition, and surface characteristics before determining whether it is genuine. This careful evaluation protects collectors from altered coins, counterfeit pieces, and misunderstandings. A certified coin provides confidence because its authenticity and condition have been independently verified, allowing buyers and sellers to rely on recognized industry standards instead of speculation. Perhaps the most remarkable aspect of the 1991 P Washington quarter is its ability to connect generations. A coin produced more than 30 years ago may have traveled through countless cities, businesses, and families before finally reaching a collector's hands. Along that journey, it silently witnessed everyday moments that history books rarely record. Although most examples remain worth only their face value, each one preserves a small piece of America's economic and cultural story. That enduring connection between ordinary life and national history is what continues to inspire collectors around the world. As our story moves toward its conclusion, one lesson becomes clear. The true excitement of coin collecting is not built on unrealistic promises of overnight wealth, but on the satisfaction of learning, exploring, and preserving history. Every Washington quarter carries the legacy of its designers, the craftsmanship of the United States Mint, and the countless journeys it has taken through everyday life. Whether discovered in pocket change, inherited from family, or preserved in a carefully organized collection, the 1991 P quarter reminds us that even the smallest objects can tell extraordinary stories when we take the time to look closely. Every collector eventually reaches a moment when the value of a coin becomes less important than the story it carries. The 1991 P Washington quarter is a perfect example of that idea. It was created to serve everyday commerce, yet decades later, it has become a small historical artifact that reflects the artistry, technology, and economic conditions of its era. Millions were produced, but every surviving coin has followed a different path through history, making each one unique in its own way. One question is asked repeatedly in the collecting community: could my 1991 P quarter be valuable? The honest answer depends on several factors. Most circulated examples remain worth only 25 cents. However, coins preserved in exceptional uncirculated condition, certified by professional grading services, or displaying genuine mint errors can be worth considerably more to collectors. The difference is determined by rarity, condition, authenticity, and collector demand, not simply by the year printed on the coin. The Washington quarter also teaches an important lesson about patience. Successful collectors rarely chase rumors or sensational headlines. Instead, they study mint records, compare genuine examples, learn grading standards, and build knowledge over time. Every coin examined becomes another opportunity to improve their understanding of American numismatics. Even when a coin turns out to be ordinary, the experience gained from studying it becomes valuable for future discoveries. As you look at your own coins, remember that history is often hidden inside the smallest objects. The inscriptions Liberty, In God We Trust, United States of America, and E Pluribus Unum have traveled through countless hands, connecting generations with the ideals and heritage of the nation. The familiar eagle on the reverse and the portrait of George Washington continue to remind us that coins are more than currency. They are lasting symbols of American history preserved in metal. If today's journey has encouraged you to look more closely at the coins already in your pocket, then it has achieved its purpose. Every collection begins with a single coin and a single question. Keep searching with curiosity, preserve your coins carefully, and rely on verified information whenever you believe you have found something unusual. Whether your 1991 P Washington quarter is an ordinary piece of circulation or a collectible example, it remains part of a fascinating story that continues to inspire collectors around the world.